his speech, the homeless man in a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt recounts his last day before coming back to Utah. This is his 6th speech in the Competent Communicator Handbook, and his objectives are to use pauses and vocal variety to add spice and flair to the speech. Lastly, notice Derrick's dress for today. He wants the audience to visually see how wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt to a formal event such as Toastmasters can make an individual stick out like a sore thumb. Without further ado, let's welcome Derrick.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. It was wonderful. It was oddly charming, but I was greatly disturbed. It was gay porn. I had never seen gay porn before, ever in my life. And it was my second to last night in University of Miami. I was at a friend's house, and they had found this pornographic website that solicited sex nearby in Miami. And they accidentally went onto the gay one. And the thing that creeped me out beyond, I couldn't believe it. I was aroused by it. So what did I do? I decided to make a whole bunch of jokes about these nicely groomed men nibbling on each other's meat. And I don't know, I guess it made a whole bunch of people uncomfortable. Oh, yeah. But I ended up, once everyone left, it was just my friend and I, and my friend asked, Derrick, were you just saying that stuff to be funny? And I don't know why I said this, but I said, I don't think so. I think I'm bisexual. And I had never really thought about it before, but that night I started thinking about it. And a myriad of repressed memories from my childhood came up. Growing up in Utah with the Mormon culture, I had always aspired to kind of fit that mold, but I always felt a general sadness inside. I never was able to explain it, but all of a sudden, these memories come into fruition and into my life, and it was terrifying. I couldn't sleep that night. I ended up walking 20 blocks, and just walking. I ended up sleeping for an hour and waking up at about 10 o'clock the next day. Now here's the funny thing. This is a Friday, and Friday at 12:30, we're supposed to be moved out of your dorms and have all your stuff. I was not prepared at all. I actually made the mistake of scheduling my flight to leave Miami on Saturday morning, so I was totally not ready to go. What ended up happening as well is I had rented a storage unit to put all my dorm stuff in there, but there was one teensy problem. It was a 10-minute drive away, and I didn't have a car. Also, this was the day that graduation was happening for the music students. They did multiple graduations. And so I ended up waking up at about 10 o'clock and then realizing that I was not prepared at all to leave. So I ended up calling for about an hour a whole bunch of my friends and asking, hey, can you help me out? But they're all either going to graduation, they're all either busy, they already have left. And so I was pretty freaked out. I ended up having a really terrible year at school. I thought a long time about quitting and leaving. And I don't know, it felt like everything was culminating. And so I called one of my friends for a ride, and I ended up freaking out a little bit and telling her about the experience I had last night. And she said, so what? That's totally fine. And then I realized it's okay to be me. And so from that moment on, I had this rush, an unexplainable rush, that everything was just a blur. I was just in a great maniac state. And so what ended up happening is I went down to the lobby, I checked out a vacuum and a cart, And then I ended up going back up to my room and cleaning it, because that was one of the required things. You had to fill out this checkout form and do all this stuff. As I did that, I plugged in my speaker, and I don't know if you guys know who Herbie Hancock is, but he's this funk artist. He's pretty crazy. And so I started blasting this really loud funk music and then vacuuming my room. Then I decided also it would be a great idea to make a giant Snapchat story of me cleaning my room and racing against the clock. It was now about 11:30, and I had to be moved out by 12. And all my stuff was packed up. I was vacuuming as fast as I could. Then I realized I had to move my bed. And once I moved my bed, I put it up against the window. And I realized it looked like a cave. It looked pretty cool. So then what I did is I started throwing chairs around and making a mess of the room. And then I vacuumed the room. But I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I left it this way? But then I thought, oh, I don't want my roommate to get fined. So I started writing a letter, and I said, please do not fine my roommate. It was I, the great Derrick, who created this mess. Then I just decided to put the note right in the middle of the mess, and then I got my stuff, and then I walked out. As I walked out, I realized I had this huge box of possession in a bag that I had to carry around. And I had no car, I had no transportation to get this stuff to storage. I didn't know what I was going to do. So the first thing I did when I went up to the desk is I checked out, signed it as the great Derrick, put it away, and then stepped out, and then I pretended to turn in my luggage cart and vacuum. But actually, I just ended up running out and stealing this luggage cart. What ended up happening next is I saw one of my friends. He was a drummer, actually, and I asked him, hey, could you help me out? And he said, I can, but I actually have to go play at graduation. So what I ended up doing for a little bit is I decided to become I decided to be a homeless person in University of Miami. Now, University of Miami is esteemed for its beautiful campus. It has a beautiful lake. They have a nice Jamba Juice. So I decided to go around with my giant cart of things and ask people for money. And I filmed it all on my phone, so the Snapchat world could see what I was up to. Now, what I learned from this experience is through what I did with my room. I ended up not getting fined because I had a clean room. And I was really frustrated with school because I felt really restrained and confined and that I couldn't do what I wanted. But I learned that even when you're restricted within the confines of something, you can be creative and let yourself and do what you want within those confines. And that makes it a truly great experience. Thank you guys so much.